Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now we all have our own idea when it comes to the term retro gaming. For some it's back when the likes of Doom ruled the world of PC, and for others it might be a more recent era, perhaps last decade, when classics like GTA Vice City brought back the sights and sounds of the 80s. Older games mean the most to me because they remind me of a simpler time, not to mention they are super easy to run these days on older hardware. Some of it dirt cheap like this Opteron based setup. Back in 2006 this Opteron 1212 or 1212 processor and motherboard combo would have been at the centre of a rather expensive server, but these days that same hardware is selling dirt cheap, which makes it perfect for putting together an old school gaming build like I've done here. Every expense has been spared, from the case fan sat atop the heatsink to the Amazon delivery box used as the open air case. The full configuration consists of a dual-core Opteron 1212 CPU, 4GB of RAM and a 7300 LE graphics card, which would have been released as a budget gaming card the same year as the Opteron. With a 2GHz clock speed and 2MB cache, this processor isn't very good at all by today's standards, but it was never really intended for the general usage market. The 7300 LE graphics card has a 450MHz core clock speed and 256MB of DDR2 RAM. It won't run many modern games, if any, but it can be found very cheap. Our system is powered by a 300W Bestech PSU, again not great, but ideal for our usage. So let's jump into the enjoyment of some older classics and see how our system, that cost me about £25 or $30 in total, performs. I started off with Morrowind, playing it exactly how I would have with my granddad's old PC many years ago, with 640x480 resolution and really reduced settings. The distance fog actually adds to the virtual atmosphere in some ways, but if we crank up the view distance here you'll notice that the frame rate does drop, and I'm sorry to say that although I could not get the GPU usage monitor to work, I can pretty much guarantee you it will probably be at 100% most of the time, and I'd love to pair this Opteron with something newer and more powerful at some point to really see what it can do. Next up I wanted to try Ultimate Doom with Dosbox. Although the original release came out before I was born, I spent a lot of time playing this when I was younger because it's just a simple and fun title that will pretty much run on anything these days flawlessly. Farcry is also a fantastic classic, and it ran very well on our X-server system here, maintaining at least 60 FPS with the high settings at 720p. I used to play this on my family's old Pentium 4 and 6600 setup, and this system blows the performance of that out of the water. A delightful experience. I mentioned before that GTA Vice City might be considered a retro classic to some, and for me it definitely is. I'll admit I was way too young to really be playing this when it came out, but the PlayStation 2 is where I had my first experience of the 80s, and it was probably one of the first games I repurchased for PC when I built my first system. It runs very nicely here with a solid 40+ FPS and maximum draw distance at 720p with our Opteron server build. The same goes for Half-Life 2. With the low settings our system managed 30 to 60 FPS most of the time at 1024x768. I mean any modern PC could run this and the other games with ease, but there's just something cool about running older games with old hardware like this. Finally, I know it's not retro, but I tried the newest title that would run, Cuphead. I'm glad a game that was designed to look old actually runs well on older hardware too. The game fired up no problem here, albeit at 640x480, but it maintained playable frame rates throughout, but who knows if I'll ever get past this first level. There we have it, this X-server hardware has been given a new lease of life and repurposed into something that is used for fun rather than work. It's not a brilliant PC by a long stretch, but it's a brilliant way to get back into your old games collection at a very cheap price. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like on it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already and you want to, of course, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.